I worked the cones, actually, Matt. Unbeknownst to everybody, I was actually the guy out there. I was in overalls and a hat, so I wasn't, but I actually was the guy working the cones out there. You really are not serious.
More serious than you might think, Governor. Remember that? That was Governor Christie joking about Bridgegate when the news first broke. But is he now sweating it out instead of laughing it up? Let's bring in our panel. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, and Phil Reisman, of course, Journal News columnist. And there are so many parts of all of this that are somewhat unseemly when it comes to Bridgegate. The fact that he laughed it off and was so casual about it at first. The fact that he basically used traffic and the first day of school, or not he, but his cronies did, for political. What's the part that sticks in your craw?
Well, it's all about hubris. That's what undoes all these guys, the H word. And, you know, here it is. The image of him sweating it out, too, is really kind of grotesque, you know, comes to mind. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's arrogance. And I was talking to Dominic before the show, and I was saying, you know, stupidity and arrogance tend to coincide at some point, you know, and that was a stupid, arrogant thing, and his reaction to it was the usual, you know, hubris that you see so often in politics and abuse of power.
Dominic, where does this fall on the big troubleometer for politicians? How deep is Christie in it at this point?
It's off the charts. You can't even rate this. I'm speaking as a political reporter.
Every political covered the fall of a lot of other politicians.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out the best way to be fair to the governor, but we may be looking at the beginning of the end. That's how bad this is. The man that just basically copped the deal and pleaded guilty, who you appointed to the Port Authority, his lawyer has been running around for months saying that you're not accusing you of lying, the governor, but saying that you knew about this. Mm-hmm. And so it is and remember, this is just the beginning. The U.S. attorney tonight knows things that we have no idea.
You have the same view of this in terms of the...
Well, yeah, I would say the beginning of the end was when this whole story broke in the first place.
I agree with you. I stand corrected.
Well, no, it's
just the middle of the end?
Well, if you look at if you just look at the polling, I mean, in December of 2013, he was out ahead of all these, you know, how many GOP candidates are there? And ever since this thing, it's gone down and down and down, and now he's between you know, Huckabee and a hard place, somewhere in the single digits.
But there's a flip side to that polling. If you take 2016 out of the equation, we just focus on his ability to govern New Jersey. Yeah. Take a look at some of these numbers, because these are fairly recent. It seems like it's almost asked and answered when it comes to the voters of New Jersey. Did Governor Christie know about the lane closures? And this is from before today. 53% of New Jersey residents say yes. If Christie knew about the lane closures, what should happen to him? You got a plurality that says he should either be removed from office or removed and prosecuted. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's a full majority. And his approval rating is down in the George W. Bush territory. No apologies, or right. You know, I don't mean to embarrass the former president by saying that.
Andrew, give it about a week to a week and a half of daily newspaper coverage and television coverage, which is about to happen right now, starting effective immediately, and take the same poll and see the numbers.
No, I'm sure the numbers will be down even worse, but if that's where they were before, isn't New Jersey, don't you get the sense that New Jersey voters are at least like, yeah, we kind of knew this was coming and we've already waited on this?
I think, Andrew, he's got other problems, not just Bridgegate. He's got big deficit problems in the state. You know, there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors about, you know, screwing around with the budget in New Jersey. And, you know, I think the voters are going to be reflecting that, or at least in the polls will be reflecting that too, just in New Jersey. But this thing, you know, it has national repercussions that creates an image. And Dominic hit on it. This Wildstein guy has been saying the truth will come out. You know, they're talking about another shoe that's going to drop. And if it turns out that, you know, Christie is even lying, who knows? Maybe there could even be an impeachment that could come out of this. Who knows?
Let me take the best possible scenario for Governor Christie. Let's say nothing more to connect him directly to Bridgegate, either the planning of it or that he knew it was happening.
That's impossible. But the reason why it's impossible, because the U.S. attorney would not have let Mr. Wildstein cop to those charges today unless he had much more to offer.
It's a fair point.
But playing along with your scenario.
That's a fair point. We've been hearing from the beginning Democrats saying, and this is a question I asked Steve Adubato, the guilty of the creating the culture that leads to this sort of behavior. Is that now a charge that sticks in a
Yes.
way that didn't stick
Yes,
before?
yeah, it definitely does, because, you know, here's a guy that's going out there. He's in Iowa, you know, where he may get lost in the cornfields pretty rapidly, but
Former U.S. attorney himself.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he's going out there, and his mantra of his campaign is, Americans need to know the truth. Well, Americans right now, particularly those who are caught in those traffic jams, really still don't know the truth about that. And this is going to haunt him. I believe it will.
Does he even formally run for 2016 at this point, or do you think he packs it in?
He, knowing his personality from afar, he really wants to, but he's a realist. I just don't see how.
Yeah,
I don't see how. The money's not going to come to him.
Yeah.
The money's now dried up. You can forget that.
Yes.
You know, he can't even say that, you know, he can carry his own state. I just don't see the scenario where this governor could run.
It's kind of a shame, too, because it really would be fun to watch him debate, you know, with a panel of 7 or 8 or whatever they winnow it down to at some point during this whole thing. And I don't think we're going to have a chance to see this guy actually debate, like, you know,
Andrew,
and be out there.
I'm telling you, after today, we're looking at the beginning of the end. It only goes downhill from here.
You know what, Governor? Even if you just want to come in and debate Phil and Dominic, we got a table, a chair open for you. I'll be in on that too.
Put me in a headlock.
We want to get you at home involved in this conversation. Head over to Facebook and Twitter. Sound off on our question tonight. Do you hold Chris Christie responsible for Bridgegate? No evidence of linking him directly to it yet, but do you still hold Governor Christie responsible nonetheless? Up next, corruption in Albany. It has been a big topic on this show and, of course, across the Empire State. The hits just keep on coming, but how do you fix it and make Albany work better? We'll have some answers, or at least try to get them, next.